Welcome to Spiguyver Backpacking. My name is Mark, and thanks for joining me today. Today I did some testing with my Spiguyver backpacking stove. So this is what I like to take out in the field with me a lot of times. Super light, about 4 to 5 grams, depending on the height that you go with it. So I've had a lot of comments from people asking me why I've gone with this height and not with the 1 inch. Because anyone who's watched any of Hiram's videos has seen that he's kind of determined that the sweet spot between where the flames come out and the pot stand is about 1 inch. So I had done some testing on my own and determined that the lower one actually works better for the pots that I'm using. And I really do believe that it comes down to pot choice and what you're using. So today I used the one that's between, it's actually about 3/8 of an inch. I keep saying 1/4 inch. It actually is 3/8 of an inch is what I use. Then I did one that's exactly at a 1/2 inch, and then I made a new one today that is a full 1 inch, just so that we can put this one out there to test it alongside. And here you can see the 3 of them sitting side by side. So I didn't do this test outside like I've done several of my other tests. I did this one inside in a closed environment. I did some talking with Sam from Batch Stoves while I was down at HangCon last weekend, and he said, you know, one of the things that he makes sure he does is he does all of his tests in a closed environment so that you can get the same results every time. And if you look at Hiram's videos, he's down in either basement or in his shop, and he always is in the same environment. Sam's always in his same environment. Same with like Tinny from Mini Bull Design. He's got his little shop, his area that he does it in a closed environment so you can get repeatable results. If you're outside, you know, the temperature, the humidity, the wind, all are variables that you can't control from day to day. So doing it inside, you're going to get the best results. So that's what I did. I went ahead, put these 3 to the test, and let's take a look at what we came up with. Here are the parts that I will be using for today's test. So I've got the 3 different Spiguyver stoves set up. So I've got one with a 1 inch from top to rim, 1/2 inch, and a 1/4 inch. I'm going to be measuring out 3/4 of an ounce of alcohol. It's heat. I'll be using the 12-ounce Batch Stoves pot. I will be making sure that the temperature is the same prior to starting all 3 tests. So it's just a simple which one comes to a boil faster. Okay, 58 degrees is the starting temperature. I'm actually going to use a 1/2 ounce of heat. That's what I normally use to boil 1 cup of water, so that's what we're going to try. And the timer is started. You can see the timer's going. So we're at 4 minutes. And there we go. Good solid boil on this one, right at 4 minutes. And the stove is now burning out, so we have boil in 4 minutes and burnout just past 6. Okay, we've got the 1/2 inch from top to lip stove. Got another 8 ounces of water, right at 58, almost 59 degrees, but close enough for what we're doing here. We will start this thing up. Wait for it to come to a boil. There we go. Pot goes on. Timer is started. So you can see that one spot where we have the yellow flame and a little bit of an ember there along the edge. And that's because there was a little bit of sticky substance on this one. I used this one out in the field, and I wrapped it with the carbon felt just to store it inside of the pot. And so some of it stuck to it when I pulled it off, and so that's what's giving you that right there. So here we are, right at 4 minutes. and it's boiling almost exactly the same time as the 1/4 inch for the 1/2 inch. So here we go, it is burning out, and the difference on this one, we're just at 5 1/4 and it is out. So 45 seconds shorter with the half inch as opposed to the 1/4 inch. Okay, so here we go again. We've got 58-degree water, maybe just slightly below 58, but right there, about where we've been with all of them. We've got a 1/2 ounce of fuel in this one. I will get the lid, throw the lid on here. Let's get this started. I've got the timer here ready to go. I'm going to use this to light it once it comes to bloom, which it always does very quickly. We'll set the pot on. Timer is started. And let's see how we do with this one. 1 inch. The burn does look very different, and it's coming much further up the sides of the pot than it does with either of the other two stoves. It looks like it's starting to settle in, and the flames maybe turning a little bit more blue, but there's a lot of yellow in these flames. So here we are 2.5 minutes in, and the flames have just now turned completely blue. And I'm not sure what the difference is here. It's got to be the height difference, because the fuel is exactly the same. Nothing was different on any of these. So that's interesting. Okay, so here's the next big surprise. We are at 3 minutes 14 seconds. As you can see, we've got hot water but no boil, and that flame is just about out. Wasn't expecting that, so I'm going to go ahead and redo this test with the 1 inch. Do it all exactly the same. 1/2 ounce of fuel, 8 ounces of cold water, and we'll redo it and see if we come up with the same results. So right there is 15 milliliters, which is exactly 1/2 ounce. I'm going to take this and pour it into the 1 inch. Here you can see we've got 8 ounces of cold water. Placing it into the pot. We'll take the thermometer, turn it on. Okay, so it's a little bit warmer this time, so 62 degrees. I'm fine with that. Let's get the phone ready to start recording. Lid's on. Start her up. Wait for the bloom. There's the bloom. Pot goes on. Starting the timer. And let's try it again. Again, with this one, the flames are really shooting up pretty high. They're going actually above the sides of the pot at times. To me, it just looks like that 1 inch is just too much for this size pot. Perhaps for a different size pot it would work, but it just looks a little, the pattern just is spreading out too much for this one. And it does still remain yellow, and we are 2 minutes and 10 seconds into this test. So again, we're 2:45, and the flame is really turned blue, but you can see that it's actually dying down a little bit. It's getting very close to a boil. We're not quite there yet, and it does look like the flame is kind of coming down a little bit. So we'll keep an eye on this. See, this will get to a boil. It's just about there, but just as we're just getting there, so it looks like it just made it to a boil this time, but at exactly the same time it made it to a boil, the flames are going out. And we're at 3 minutes, and it was about 3 minutes and 20 seconds when it came to a boil. But if you were outside and there was any wind at all going, this is going to become less efficient. You would definitely need more fuel, so you're going to be using more fuel than you did with either of these other two to get the same result. To me, that's not a win, and that's a reason I would stay away from the 1 inch. So there you go, guys. Put them to the test. We saw what the test kind of showed us here. You know, this is what I've been using. And given that I use that 12-ounce batch stove's pot or a Foster's pot most of the time with about the same dimension bottom, this one works out the best for me. While these two boiled both right at 4 minutes, this one the first time I didn't get it to a boil. The second time I did, right at about 3:20 to 3:30, but immediately upon getting to a boil, it went out. It had burned through all of the fuel. So these two seem to be more efficient, with this one coming in much more efficient. So we've got a total burn time of 6 minutes on the 3/8 inch, 5 minutes and 15 seconds on the 1/2 inch, and boil / burnout right at about 3.5 minutes on the 1 inch. While the 1 inch did achieve a boil faster, the flame pattern was much bigger, the flames spilled much further up around the pot, and they were yellow quite a bit of the time. And I think that's due to just the transfer of heat with that full 1 inch, where you get these ones and the heat kind of stays in there a little bit better, and so it produced a nice, good blue flame. Not going to change what I'm doing. I'm still going to carry this one, the 3/8 inch, out there. Came to a boil exactly the same time as this one, and then was able to burn even longer. Plus, there's a weight difference. While it's mostly insignificant, we're talking about 4 grams, about 6 grams, and about 7 grams. So just the addition of the extra aluminum there does create a heavier pot, or a heavier stove, so something to keep in mind. So those are the 3. I did the test. You guys can go ahead, check it out, watch it again. It's all right there. If you feel like I've done anything wrong or anything that's not repeatable in this test, shoot me a message and I will try to alleviate that. But for me, this is what I've been using. This is what I'm going to continue to use, 3/8 of an inch, and it works great for me. Thanks, guys. I'll see you guys down the trail.